Welcome to the basics for using Minitab Statistical Software. This course is comprised of 4 parts. Part 1, you'll learn about Minitab objects. Yes, it is a database. The data window, the session window, and what are some of the contents of the pull-down windows within Minitab itself. Then in Part 2, you'll learn how to manipulate between objects because this is an object-oriented database. You'll learn how to add a worksheet, key in some data, and create a time series plot. In Part 3, you'll create a new worksheet, copy data from an Excel spreadsheet, paste the data into your newly created worksheet, learn how to review and change data types, produce some run charts, and use the graphics layout tool to take the 2 run charts and combine them into one graphic. And we'll finish up in Part 4 with using the graphics folder, evaluating a run chart, and then using the Minitab Statistical Guide to find out answers to your statistical questions.
The course requirements are Minitab Statistical Software, version 15 or higher. Don't forget to download the toolkit files and follow along in Minitab as you take the course. If you need Minitab, just go to their website, minitab.com, and get a free 30-day trial.
Now that you've opened up Minitab, it looks something like this. We have a section at the bottom, which is called our Worksheet folder, and the worksheets are where we put our data. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger here. So we have columns in the worksheet, and those will be associated with fields in our database. Each column represents a field that has to have a distinctly different name. We enter the names here, and that would be the name of a field. The rows represent records within a particular field. If I was to copy this name, and paste it in the next field, Minitab automatically puts an _1 under it so that we know that it has a distinctly different name. The other section that we have in our Minitab window is called the session window. And this is up here, and here's the Minitab caret. This is where operations and Minitab code would be displayed after you've done something with some data. This allows you to repeat those operations at a later time. Let's take a look at some of the buttons that are important to us. The first is the big blue eye. This is the one that shows information about the data set that you're working on. If we go to the right of the big blue eye, we have a report pad, which allows us to store information about our Minitab project. If we continue to go to the right of the big blue eye, we get to a scroll, which is actually the session window. If we click on that, it brings us back to the session window. The next one over is the worksheet window. If we click on that, it brings our worksheet back up. It's an object-oriented database, so all the objects are there. You just need to be able to move around between them. Now, if we go to the left of the big blue eye, there's a graph folder, but we don't have any graphics yet, so there's nothing there. There is a worksheets folder, which shows this particular worksheet, and I can do a right mouse click and rename it and just call it a data set. All right, so I've given it a name. Now at the top, we have a file pull down. We can edit. We can manipulate data. We have a calc menu. We have a stat menu. Things that we would typically use would be basic statistics and regression and analysis of variance and design of experiments and control charts, quality tools. There's a graph menu for doing scatter plots and histograms and box plots and dot plots, bar and pie charts and time series, and even 3-dimensional charts. There's a tools menu and a window menu. Help is always available, and there's also a statistics guide that acts as your statistical tutor. It's very helpful and very useful, and I think you'll find that as you do things in Minitab and you need some help with some reference as far as what you're doing with a particular statistical analysis, the stats guide I'm sure that you will find to be very, very useful. The question mark gives you help about using Minitab itself. Next, we'll take a look at entering some data into Minitab and doing a couple of graphs.